feel like I'm missing something. Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Winnetka Village Council regular virtual meeting for April 8th, 2021. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask that everybody mute your cell phones or other electronic devices when you're not speaking to improve the sound quality of the meeting. I'm coming to you tonight from the Black Hole, otherwise known as 1175 Spruce Street, so please forgive my internet connection if you are not able to hear me. All right, we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Penny, could you lead us this evening in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is quorum check. Rob, do you want to go ahead and check quorum?
Sure, and I will also do a quick roll call for attendance. Trustee Lampier.
Yes.
Trustee Apatow.
Here.
Trustee Dearborn.
Here.
Trustee Swerk.
Here.
Trustee Kripe.
Here.
President Rins.
Here.
Okay, the next meeting is April 13th, next Tuesday. And then rounding out April will be the 20th. Do the April meetings look okay?
Yes.
April 13th, I'll be out of town traveling.
Okay. Anyone else? All good?
We're still remote, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And then the first meeting in May is the regular meeting, and that's typically a transition meeting and swear in new trustees and village president, finish up what's on the agenda, step down, and then reconvene.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Rob. All right, item number 4 is public comment. This is the time of the evening when members from the general public can share their thoughts with Village Council on any item that is not on the agenda. Kristen, you want to go ahead and facilitate the public comment?
Be happy to, President Rins. At this time, if we could have anyone in the audience who would like to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda, if you could please use the Zoom raise your hand feature and you will be recognized. Additionally, Mark, if you'd like to speak to the council in lieu of me reading your comment, if you would raise your hand at this time, I'd appreciate it. Mark has raised his hand. Mark, I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute, please. Welcome, Mark.
Hello, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Should I just read my comment?
I'm sure.
Okay, great. Okay, let's see. Okay, council, this is about mask mandates. So mask mandates are likely going to be a permanent part of the Illinois Restore Phase 5 plan. All the latest data on it and the news leaking on it, they're going to keep them apparently permanently.
I can't hear anything, guys.
Mark,
Mark, it sounds like you're wearing a mask.
Oh, is it? Can you hear me okay now or no?
I could before.
It's better.
Okay. The goalposts have moved endlessly and they will shift to eliminating all COVID cases, which is obviously not possible. We've had flu vaccine for 80 years. We see 30 to 80,000 deaths a year. We cannot eliminate viral spread. It's going to be incumbent upon local government and local law enforcement to determine the best path forward for our communities. We cannot force vaccinated residents with natural immunity, children at literally zero risk from COVID to permanently mask in public. Today, every weekend, I can visit bars and restaurants. I play in a basketball league. My kids play soccer. I work out at a gym, all maskless every weekend in many parts of this state, but not here. Why? Why can't we do it here? There's absolutely no empirical evidence that the mask mandates have helped in any way. Our case curve in Illinois and any state in geographic proximity is nearly identical across the country. Illinois deaths per capita is actually higher than Iowa, Missouri, despite far less mitigations in those states. Local decision makers who have the best information and are accountable and accessible to their constituents should be empowered to set local policy. Local governments should demand data and evidence that these mitigations are effective and required. We need to move to voluntary mitigations and allow citizens and businesses to make decisions they feel is best for themselves and their families. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate your comments. Kristen?
This time, would anyone else like to address the council on an item not on the agenda? Please raise your hand. Seeing no hands raised, President Rentz, we do have a video comment to share. This video comment was brought forward by Ms. Cook's third grade class, Crow Island School.
Kristen, do we have sound? Kristen?
President Rentz, let me work and see if I can get the sound. One moment. Were you not able to hear?
Is anybody able to hear?
No. No. Sometimes when you do video, you have to go into the settings and it's something about
Share
sharing the
sound.
microphone.
Here we go. Let's try again. My apologies. Can you hear now?
Yeah.
We should have a dog park in Winnetka. One reason we should have a dog park is that dogs need to get their energy out and get exercise. A dog park has a lot of space for dogs to run. A dog park gives dogs a place to exercise. Dogs need exercise to stay healthy. Get fat if they sit around too much. If dogs are not healthy, they can get sick or die. Many dogs never get exercise. They just sleep on the couch all day. If we had a dog park, they would have somewhere to go. Sometimes dogs just sit and look out the window and bark at other dogs. That is not healthy. Also, if you have a puppy, they are really energetic and they can play at the dog park. Just like us, dogs can get bored or crabby if they don't get enough exercise. They might be naughty and chew on things. Sometimes when you walk your dog on a leash, they have so much energy that they can pull you in circles. If we had a dog park, this wouldn't happen. Another reason we should have a dog park is that dogs can play with other dogs. Everybody needs to have fun, even dogs. That way the dogs can see other friends and be happy. When dogs play with each other, they have fun. Have you ever seen puppies playing? Dogs naturally play, so they should have a special place for them. Dogs are like people and they want to play and socialize. It's important to have social interactions so they can get along with other dogs and people. If dogs do not interact with other dogs, they can become aggressive or lonely. If there was a dog park, they would be able to socialize. Also, a dog park would give a place for the dogs to play fetch, and we would not have to worry about the ball going into the street. A third reason we should have a dog park in Winnetka is that having a dog park would be safer for dogs. Some people do not have a yard or fences. Those dogs can't run free because it is not safe for them and they may run in the street. Lastly, we should have a dog park in Winnetka so people can meet other people. This is important because people can make friends. Also, more people will come to Winnetka, which will be good for our city. That's all you have. Yeah. Okay. Please consider putting a dog park in Winnetka. A dog park is where dogs can play and have fun. Everybody needs to have fun. If humans can have their own place, why can't dogs? Thank you for watching Miss Cook's class, Crow Island.
It is really special. Thank you. And Ms. Cook's class should be happy to know that we have been in regular conversation with the Winnetka Park District about potentially creating a new facility on the west side of town once we begin our stormwater project over near the forest preserve there. But thanks for the great thoughts, kids, and thank you for participating in the process. We really appreciate that. All right. Any other public comment, Kristen?
There was no further public comment submitted in advance and no hands are raised in the audience, President Rentz.
Awesome. Okay, we'll move forward then. Item number 5 is, are we ready with President Preckwinkle, Kristen?
Yes, President Rentz. President Preckwinkle is in the audience.
Okay.
She's participating via phone. President Preckwinkle, I am asking you to unmute on your device, and to do so, press *6. Welcome.
Okay, I'll go ahead and provide a brief introduction, if that's okay. We are honored to host Cook County Board President Toni Preckwinkle. I was privileged to meet Toni back in 1994 when she was alderman of the 4th Ward in the city, and I've had the privilege of working with her on both private and public sector initiatives throughout the years. The Village of Winnetka owes President Preckwinkle a huge debt of gratitude. Without her vision and support, our stormwater vision would be nothing more than another good idea that we couldn't get done. Thanks to Toni, along with Forest Preserve Superintendent Arnold Randall and Commissioner Larry Suffredin, nearly 1,000 households have real hope that we are on the road to fixing a problem that has plagued our community for over 100 years. On behalf of the Village of Winnetka, I would like to extend my personal thanks to President Preckwinkle and the Cook County Department of Public Health for their support and cooperation to establish the Omnibus Division 3 vaccination site at New Trier West High School. This was the first site utilizing paramedics from 11 municipalities in our region, and with the guidance of the Cook County team, it has been a clear success. Beginning next Wednesday, our site will transition to serving the area's vulnerable residents, along with hospitality, restaurant, and domestic workers. We look forward to the opportunity to offer vaccinations to all residents seeking protection from COVID-19. As of next Wednesday, the New Trier site will have administered over 6,300 vaccinations to residents and workers in the northern suburbs. Without strong support and leadership of President Preckwinkle, we could not have made this happen. Clearly, this is an elected official who truly embraces governmental cooperation. And let's introduce to you President Toni Preckwinkle. Toni, take it away.
Thank you very much, President Rentz. That was a kind introduction. You're quite right. We've known each other for quite some time. For those of you who are not aware, President Rentz did a number of development projects in the 4th Ward, which I'm very proud of. So thank you very much. I'm grateful to be with you tonight just to kind of update you on where we are in the county. As you're aware, we passed a budget for 2021 that was without new tax increases and was balanced in the midst of the pandemic. And furthermore, included a new $100 million investment in equity to increase resources for criminal justice reform, to support our vaccination program, to aid small businesses through our Department of Economic Development, our Bureau of Economic Development, and also to support public transit. So we've got 5 areas of concern in our equity investments, and as I said, it's $100 million. So it's a significant investment by the county in equity. You referred, President Rentz, to the Omnibus site. That's the only Omnibus site in the county. And we're very proud of the work that is being done there in conjunction with our first responders. And I'm grateful to hear that the site will be opening up beyond first responders and healthcare workers really soon here so that more folks can be vaccinated. But we're grateful for the help and support that Winnetka has provided to that initiative. Across the county, As I said, that site is unique, but we have mass vaccination sites in Des Plaines, in Forest Park, in River Forest, in South Holland, and in Tinley Park. I think the Des Plaines site and the Tinley Park site are our largest. 2,000 or more people are vaccinated at those sites every day, but all 5 of those sites are mass vaccination sites. So we're doing our best to help deal with the pandemic. And I just want to encourage everyone. April 12th, I was at a press conference with the governor earlier today. April 12th, vaccinations will be open to everyone in the state over 16 years of age. So April 12th, vaccinations will be open to everyone over 16. I ask you to be patient because although appointments will be available, the vaccine supply is still insufficient in relation to demand. So people need to continue to be patient, to wear their masks, to wash their hands, and physically distance themselves so that we can continue to try to mitigate the impact of the pandemic. And as you may have read, the new variant, the United Kingdom UK variant, is now predominant in many of our states, particularly Michigan, neighboring us. And it is more contagious and more lethal than the initial strain of the virus. So we've got some real challenges ahead of us. We still have a substantial number of unvaccinated people in the state of Illinois. I think we've gotten to the point where the last time I checked, it was 82% of the seniors in Cook County had gotten 1 or more shots. But we still are close, I think, to the 40% of the population outside of seniors who have gotten shots. So we've got a long way to go. Herd immunity, according to Dr. Fauci, is 70% vaccination for all those eligible, and we're a long way from there. So I just want to encourage everyone, if you haven't gotten the vaccine yet, sign up for it. And in the interval, all of us, whether we've been vaccinated or not, need to continue to take these precautions to stem the pandemic. It's the biggest public health challenge our country has faced in 100 years. And we have an obligation, not just to protect ourselves, but protect the people we love, our family and friends and neighbors. So thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to be with you tonight. I want to add, there's one, for those in the community that may be struggling, particularly struggling with rent. We have a rental assistance program, which unfortunately ends tomorrow evening at the close of business. So if you know anybody who is a renter and who is having some challenges due to lost employment or reduced hours, cookcountyil.gov/recovery. You can find information there. I'll say it again. cookcountyil.gov/recovery. And there's information about our rental assistance program. And assistance is available up to $15,000, 12 months back month, three months prospective net. So it's a great program for anybody you know who might be challenged, and I hope you'll get the word out today so that those who are eligible might apply tomorrow.
Sure will. Tony, thank you so much for coming tonight. We really appreciate your willingness to come into the northern lands here and join us for a few minutes.
Well, thank you very much, President Rintz, for inviting me. Good to hear from you again.
Great. Well, thank you.
Take care now.
Thank you, Tony Preckwinkle. All right, we will move forward then. Item number 6 on our agenda this evening is reports. Anybody who has a report, can you please raise your hand? Not you, Rob. You have your own special spot on the agenda. I don't see anything there, so we'll move on. Village Attorney, do you have any reports? None?
No report tonight.
Okay. Village Manager, do you have a report?
Thank you, Chris. Just to expand upon the discussion on vaccines, as President Preckwinkle mentioned, after April 12th, it is available to anyone 16 years and older. And on the 13th, we will be hosting a Jewel Osco vaccination event at New Trier West. We have over 1,000 vaccines, and that link will be provided to the community on Friday morning. So look out for a Village of Winnetka email. The vaccinators will be Jewel Osco staff, and it will be administered by the municipalities in the areas of Wilmette, Winnetka, Glencoe, Northfield, and Northbrook. And we expect to also vaccinate domestic workers, restaurant workers, grocery workers. We're doing our best in each of our communities to allocate a certain amount of vaccine for them. And then the very next day, Kristen, correct me if I'm wrong, but we just found out we're getting another 900 doses of Moderna at New Trier West through the Mavis Division site. And that will also be open to the public, and we'll be doing our best to get those scheduled. We expect demand to be high, so patients will be needed, but we plan on being in the vaccination business for as long as necessary to help our community get vaccinated. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. And I have to say that you and
We lost you.
I think what Chris is saying is thank you. You guys did a great job.
It's an amazing sight seeing all of the villages working together like that. It's really impressive.
Very cool.
Yeah, the Mavis site is 11 municipalities working with the Cook County Department of Public Health. It really is a fine example of intergovernmental cooperation to meet the crisis.
I back?
You're back.
God, this is just ridiculous. All right, well, we'll try to move on before my computer goes out again here. My report. I've got a few things to report. First off, on Tuesday, we had yet another ribbon cutting up in Hubbard Woods. Alchemy and Cloth, which is a new women's clothing shop in Hubbard Woods. They had their ribbon cutting on Tuesday. It was attended, of course, by Terry, Liz, and a host of others. So I encourage you all to stop by and meet our newest proprietor at 897 Green Bay Road. Her name is Carla Levy, and I think you'll find some interesting stuff there. Secondly is leaf blowers. I think any of us who have been out and trying to enjoy the weather the last few days have recognized that the landscapers are back in town and they're packing heavy equipment right now. Want to remind all the residents as well as the business owners that there's a limited period of time in which gas leaf blowers are permitted in this town. And I'm going to continue to press the Winnetka Police Department for further enforcement of our current leaf blower law. And also tomorrow, really interestingly, a few local residents have put together a collaboration which includes leaders from several of the North Shore communities. So we're going to get together in a think tank fashion to talk a little bit about other potential ways we can help to mitigate the negative impacts of these leaf blowers and see if we can get some better cooperation from the businesses who don't live here, but who are more than happy to come to our town and make their living. So we'll be working on that as well. And I believe several trustees have already signed up for that, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll see you all tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And if anybody else is interested, you can reach out to me. Just shoot me an email and I'll send you a link to the meeting as well. Lastly, yesterday I attended a meeting with Jim Bernal and Emily Grimm for the, what the heck was the name of that thing? Oh, the Invest in Cook initiative, which was a grant that we submitted to see if we could get some financial help from Cook County on upgrading and improving the Green Bay Trail. We were lucky enough to make the first cut, so this was an interview that we participated in, and I think it went really well.
Your audio just cut out again, Chris. Nope. Oh, now we see.
Where am I?
You're there.
Hey,
You got you.
Are there two of me now or what?
One audio.
mute one of them. Or both.
Okay, how about now?
Perfect audio.
We can hear you.
Give up. Go ahead, Andy.
You got two bots. Make sure you just mute one of those.
Is that better?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Where the hell did I go?
Okay, you're there. We can hear it.
Well, as long as you can hear me, that's fine.
Yeah.
God. When can we get back in person? This is absolutely ridiculous. Ugh. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I have a very important item coming up next, and hopefully this technology will at least let me get through this. This evening,
Yikes. No go, Chris.
Alan,
Andy, maybe you can move on.
Yeah. Give you one more second, but I think where Chris was going is the proclamation honoring retiring Chief Alan Burkowski. And Rob, maybe you can help me out a little bit. I think what we were going to do is read the proclamation first. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So how about I'll start.
No.
I'll read the proclamation, and then maybe that'll give some time for the technical issues to sort themselves out. And I believe we have Chief Burkowski in the audience, don't we?
Yes, we do, and I'm happy to promote him at this time.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
About time he got a promotion.
Sorry about my background.
Looks like you already started the retirement.
Stand by.
You should have those trees on fire.
All right. Now
Okay.
we're much more professional.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thanks for joining us, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, I will go ahead and read. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation, and we'll see if we get Chris back as well. Okay, this is the proclamation honoring Fire Chief Alan Burkowski upon his retirement from the village of Winnetka. Whereas Alan Burkowski has faithfully served as chief of the Winnetka Fire Department since April 2011, and whereas Chief Burkowski displayed the highest standards of personal and professional ethics, competency, and dedication throughout his career in Winnetka, and whereas Chief Burkowski brought command and control rescue training to the Mutual Aid Box Alarm System Division 3, which was eventually taught and published nationally, and whereas Chief Alan Burkowski created, authored, and updated the village's emergency operations plan, and whereas during his tenure in Winnetka, Chief Burkowski supervised a project to update Winnetka's fire codes, oversaw several important remodeling projects at the fire station, and ensured that ongoing facility maintenance was completed in a cost-effective and timely fashion. And whereas Chief Burkowski created an intergovernmental agreement coordinating a regional fire inspection program between Winnetka, Kenilworth, and Northfield. And whereas Chief Burkowski was instrumental in the creation of the Mutual Aid Box Alarm System Division 3 Vaccination Point of Delivery Program, enabling municipalities to vaccinate essential municipal workers and teachers during the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas Chief Burkowski is invested in the professional development of the next generation of leaders in the fire service. And whereas Chief Burkowski retired from his role as chief of the fire department on April 9, 2021, which I guess is tomorrow, right? Now, therefore, the Council of the Village of Winnetka honors Alan Burkowski for his contributions to the safety of the Village of Winnetka and thanks him for his tireless work to keep our community members safe. And that proclamation will be. And Chris is back.
I saw everybody clapping, so I assume that you've.
I read the proclamation.
We are clapping that you were back.
That would be a first. Well, guys, do you have anything you'd like to say to Chief as we send him off? Just, Penny, go ahead.
I would like to say, I mean, the proclamation outlines the professional aspects of your job, but it has been, what it doesn't discuss is what a pleasure it has been to have you on board in the village. You have been such a great person to work with, and also have worked so hard to present a really friendly and welcoming face for the fire department to our community. It has been so great working with you, and we're truly going to miss you. You've done so much for our fire department and our public safety and our community connections. Some of that soft stuff that doesn't necessarily always show up in the job resume or how it reports out, but it's just been critical, and I can't thank you enough. We're going to miss you greatly. Good luck with retirement, and don't go burning down those palm trees. So
Thank you so much.
Well, Chief, we already spoke, so I won't get into a lot of this, but you have a great, and to echo what Penny says, you have a great way about you that inspires confidence and leadership in a really important role. So I echo what Penny said. We are going to miss you. It's been great, to work with you. We're looking forward to working with Chief Ripka now, but you will be missed, no doubt about it. So thank you for everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll chime in as well. Chief, it's been great working with you. I think you're a role model for all of our department leaders. You kind of set the tone that I think your entire team follows, but I think it really is the tone of the entire village team, and it's a spirit of collaboration and professionalism, and it's been great working with you. Gonna miss you, but I know you've prepared your team really well, so I know we're going to be in good hands. But thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate that.
Go ahead, Rob.
Just echoing the same. I don't want to go through it, but from my first being one of the newer trustees, my first day, you exemplified professionalism and openness. You were an open book to any questions I had. My grandson wants to be a fireman. You guys put him up in the truck. It was awesome. So they had no idea who I was. So it was they were just the friendliness. They get where they are. They know they have a job to do, but they really make it really enjoyable as they interact with the residents, and that really starts from the top. So I appreciate everything you've done. I wish you well.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob.
Hey, Chief, thanks again for all the work you've done in Winnetka, and wish you a lot of fun and long time in retirement.
Yeah. Alan, I have to say that I was fortunate enough to watch the transition when you first came in, and it has been amazing to watch the way that you have rebuilt this department and totally changed the culture of what goes on there. I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of fire departments in my private sector career, and I have to tell you that of all the fire professionals I've worked with, you have brought such a knowledge base and practicality to what you're doing, but never wavering on the important issues of life safety. And it's just been such a pleasure watching you work. It's always fun to watch a pro, and I am going to miss you so much. And certainly I hope a lot of what you've done over there in the fire department rubs off on John, and he can pick up the ball and just keep things going in the right direction. So thanks again so much. We really appreciate you moving a little bit north and taking care of us for a few years. It was really awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rob.
So Alan, I don't want to cover everything I covered this afternoon with your apparatus floor bay parting, but I want to thank you sincerely for a great 10 years. The trust and the confidence that we had with each other was an experience that I will always treasure. And I wish you nothing but the best in your retirement, and don't be a stranger.
Thank you, Rob. I truly enjoyed working with you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, likewise.
You know, it's been my honor to be your fire chief. And to be honest with you, I couldn't have done my job as well without the support of all of you. You know, just bringing the issues, discussing the issues, getting things done. And it's been, the 10 years have gone by so fast, which is really indicative of the fact that it's just been a great experience for me. And I'm leaving you in good hands, not only with Chief Ripka, but we got some incredible talent on this department. And when that tone goes off, they go out there and they get the job done. And I'm just really proud of the men and women of the Winnetka Fire Department. And I feel really good about where we're at right now. So again, thank you so much for the proclamation. Thank you for all your support after all these years and all the kind words. I'm gonna miss you all. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief.
Welcome.
Miss you too.
If we were in person, we would give you a standing ovation, but so consider it done.
So noted.
Are you going to slide down the fire pole one last time? Or,
You know, I might do that. I might do.
Rents, we do have a hand raised in the audience. Scott Meyer has his hand raised.
Of course.
Scott, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Thanks, Kristen and Alan. I couldn't let this evening pass without logging in and adding my thanks. You know, you have an assigned job and you did a great job, doing that, obviously. But what I really appreciate, I think what the village appreciates, but maybe doesn't know about is, when it came to the Music Fest, how you came with creative ideas, you came with a can-do attitude, and I think you set the tone that the whole department kind of rallied behind and really helped us, make it a success year after year after year. So, I really appreciate your help on that. I know you're now going to be on a fixed income and things are going to be a little tight. So I just want to let you know that I've got 2 VIP tickets reserved for you and your wife this year for the Music Fest. So, it's just a little thank you for all the work you did. And things are going to be tight, but at least you'll get a good couple of meals during the music festival.
Thank you so much. And it was a blast working on the Music Fest and the success of it. It's just been spectacular.
Thanks. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Scott.
Anybody else out there, Kristen?
I see no other hands raised, President Rents.
Awesome. Chief, don't be a stranger.
I won't. And again, thank you all. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you around.
Thank you.
Chief.
Thank you.
Hey, we need a motion and a second on that proclamation and a vote.
Oh, thank you.
So moved.
We got to make sure it passes.
Yeah, I move.
Need a second.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Okay. Trustee Lampier,
Yes.
Trustee Apatow,
yes.
Trustee Swerk,
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn,
Yes.
Trustee Kreip.
Yes.
That motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
See ya.
Thank you, Alan.
Oh, boy, busy night tonight. All right, we'll move forward with the approval of the agenda. Does any trustee wish to remove an item on the consent agenda for a separate vote? Seeing no hands, I will, may I have a motion to approve the final form of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Swerk,
Yes.
Trustee Kreip,
Yes.
Trustee Lampier,
Yes.
Trustee Apatow,
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn.
Yes.
That motion carries. Number 9 is the consent agenda. I will ask the village clerk to read the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you, President Rents. Approval of village council minutes for March 2nd, 2021, regular meeting, March 9th, 2021, regular or special meeting, and March 16th, regular meeting. Approval of the warrant list dated March 12th through April 1st, 2021, in the amount of $1,266,053.71. Ordinance number M6, 2021, 688 to 694 Green Bay Road, the Walden Preliminary Plan Development for adoption. Resolution number R 40, 2021, repair groundwater monitoring wells at the municipal landfill for adoption. Resolution number R 45, 2021, extending temporary tent approvals for schools. Resolution number R 46, 2021, purchase of leaf collector equipment for adoption. Resolution number R 47, 2021, curbside collection refuse rates for adoption. And resolution number R 48, 2021, purchase of pad mount metering gear for adoption.
Great. All right, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote?
So moved. Second.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Dearborn,
Yes.
trustee Kreip,
Yes.
trustee Swerk,
Yes.
trustee Apatow,
Yes.
trustee Lampier.
Yes.
That motion carries. Thank you. All right, we'll move forward to item number 10, ordinances and resolution. Ordinance number M8, 2021, 651 Elm Street variation. This is up for introduction, possible adoption. This request for a front yard setback variation was unanimously recommended for approval by the Zoning Board of Appeals. Since the request involves a new construction, the Village Council has final approval of the request. And our Community Development Director, David Schoen, is here tonight to review.
Good evening. I'll quickly review the request. The property, as you can see here, is located on the north side of Elm Street, across from Village Green Park. The property is zoned R4 single family residential, as are the properties around it. The site is currently vacant and has been vacant since 2007. The applicant proposes to construct a new 2.5-story single family home. The home would comply with all zoning requirements except the front yard setback requirement. The subject property is located on a block where 2 of the 3 lots have principal buildings that have a front yard setback greater than 30 feet. The R4 zoning district in which the property is located requires a minimum front yard of 30 feet. However, any new building must also comply with the average setback rule. In this instance, applying that average setback rule, the minimum required setback is 60 feet. The applicant is proposing a front yard setback of a little over 40 feet, which is a variation of approximately 19.5 feet or 32%. The zoning board has reviewed the request after hearing from three neighbors who generally spoke in favor of the variation. They recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. They base that on the unique shape of the lot and the fact that other front yard setbacks on Elm Street in the broader neighborhood are more consistent with what the applicant is proposing. And that ends my presentation.
All right, does anybody have any questions for David and the council? Go ahead, Penny.
Yeah, I had a couple questions. One is, oh gosh, sorry, where am I here? Concerns the setback of the other 2 houses on the block, aside from the one that's right next door, the one on Cedar and the one that I guess is on Maple. Those houses don't front on Elm, right? Isn't there side yard on facing Elm?
Based on our zoning definition, the front yard is defined as the narrower of the two corner yards. So though their homes may not be facing,
Okay, right.
by our code definition, they are considered the front yard.
Okay. And then, I'm sorry, I don't have my paper version, so I'm working off the internet and that's really slow. So the side yard setbacks of those two, one of which you can't really even see from the street, give you the average of 40. But then moving into the adjacent blocks, I can't find the page with that table. You know, is there any reason that it shouldn't be just abiding by the 30-foot setback? You know, this is such an odd lot, and there wasn't, I didn't see a diagram that actually had the buildable lot area on it. Was there?
I don't recall there being one that showed what the buildable lot area was.
Yeah, because it's so goofy. And then, you know, the issue, and part of the reason why flag lots were banned was because of the strange proximity that the flag lots put, you know, the adjacent houses and kind of cutting off the lots behind from the street. Anyway.
Do you have a problem?
You know, I'm sorry.
Do you have a problem with this request?
I was just wondering if there was any interest in actually making it closer to the street and more in line. Would that benefit the trees, the lot to the neighbor? I guess the plan's already been made, so there's no purpose, but I don't know. This is just such the standards that it's being measured by are so screwy. I certainly support the request, and I'm just wondering if it's sufficient, I guess is the question. If they should be abiding by the averaging, which doesn't seem to make any sense here at all.
You know, this house is 2 houses away from me.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good proposal. I think you wouldn't necessarily want it closer to the street.
Okay.
The house right next door on Elm Street does front onto Elm, looks out onto Village Green. It's set back quite a ways, but I think if their neighbor is too far in front of them, it would kind of create a weird obstruction out of their front window.
Great.
So I think it struck me as sort of I mean, I haven't walked back in there to see it, but it seems like it probably minimizes the impact on sight lines as much as anything could.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate the context because this really is just probably the screwiest block in the village, just in terms of where the houses are and the lot lines and so forth. So thank you.
Great. Any other questions for David? Okay, Kristen, we'll open this up for public comment and discussion.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this agenda item? Please use the Zoom platform to raise your hand at this time. I see no hands raised, President Rentz.
All right, we'll bring it back here for a little deliberation and see where it goes. Thoughts on this, folks? Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I see no problem with the petitioner's request. I think it's a very reasonable request, not to go to the 30 feet, but do the average. And obviously they're happy with the way their plan works with their backyard setbacks. And I would be open for introduction and adoption. Thanks.
Others, Bob?
There was one letter from Lisa and Duff Peterson. I actually spoke with Duff today. They're totally fine with the setback request. And as their letter stated, they're very hopeful. I don't see any reason why this wouldn't be the case, that the new owners, they're going to own the home, will keep these trees in that beautiful back lot intact as much as possible. Some of those trees are well over 100 years old. Mm-hmm. And hopefully, you know, that's something the neighbors would appreciate. And but anyway, so the Petersons seem fine with this proposal as well.
Great.
Following up on Bob's, the letter from the neighbors, where would detention go? I didn't see it indicated in the diagram. Again, my internet is giving me fits, so I've been having a hard time paging through the document. But where would the detention go for this particular lot?
During the ZBA's review of the setback variation, that level of detail is not provided. They will have to comply with all village stormwater requirements. The applicant, believe, is in the room, Kristen. If you want to ask them where their plans are for that.
Yeah, why don't we promote them? I've got a question too.
Good evening. Elliot Dixer on behalf of the petitioner, and I know Mr. Burdine is in the room as well. Oh, I see he's on the screen now. And I have to say hi to Peter Friedman, who I've known for many years. So hi, Peter.
How are you?
Good. I would like to just answer one question. So one of the big things for Mr. Burdine is the tree preservation. One of the reasons we moved the house a little even more forward, we wanted to do something that was further back from the 40 feet, but there are some really great heritage trees in the backyard, and he really wants to keep those intact. So we moved the house to the 40 feet. And I think, you know, very most definitely he wants to keep those and take advantage of the beautiful backyard. So he sort of did the average of not going 30 feet, but staying at 40 feet and thereby also preserving those trees in the backyard.
Great, thank you.
Other questions for the applicant?
Well, just getting, first of all, again, thank you for being cognizant of the trees, because they really are beautiful and we really appreciate your work to save those. Have you all given any thought to where your attention would go for the stormwater on the property?
So I don't know, Matt may have some more insight, but I know that, I don't know if there's necessarily physical retention of the property, but I know that according to my discussions with the preliminary discussions with the architect, I can guarantee you that I don't think there's on-site retention per se.
There is, Elliot.
Say that again. Did they build it?
So what was most loved about this lot for us is how forested it is. And we're trying to do everything we can to retain all of the trees that are there, like anything over 6 inches. I've instructed our builder and architect to design to retain. So we're very cognizant of that through the entire design. We're dealing with the water retention now, and from my understanding today, we have there's a new engineer inspector or something, a young lady, or is that correct? In the village?
Yes, there is a new assistant village engineer.
Yeah. Yes. So we're actually, I mean, this is something that we'll probably bring up later, but we're having some issues maybe with deciding where all this water retention is going to go, because I guess the previous owner has not paid some kind of $20 a month tax on stormwater retention. And it's caused us to, instead of having to be able to take the old properties retention, we have to pretend like it's a vacant lot that's never been occupied and start from scratch. So I don't know, I guess we're required to have 50% impervious, even though we're only at 25 or 30% to save the trees that are on the lot. So there's some questions now into how much of the lot we would have to dig up to provide all of the water retention. So I guess we just have some work to work out with this engineer, so we do not have to remove trees to have water detention facilities, which is, you know, obviously what we didn't want to do to begin with. We're at the beginning stages of this though with them.
I'm sure you'll find that staff will work with you to find a suitable solution to the issue. And obviously, if there's any struggles, we'll come together and figure out how to get you guys done.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We're excited to be part of the community. We love the community. We've been waiting for a lot that's close to the town and everything, and we're very excited to be able to be a part of it. So,
Matt, will you be living in? You're building the home for yourself, I assume, then?
yeah, yes, for our family.
Oh, wonderful!
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. We have businesses in the surrounding community as well, so we're going to be here for a long time.
Good deal. It's a great lot and a great place, and you'll particularly, well, I'm sure you already know, but the 4th of July is really excellent. You won't have to walk far to enjoy all that. So
On your doorstep.
That's exciting. Very
might be
exciting.
the new finish line for the 100-yard dash.
We'll be happy to host it.
So, any other questions of the applicant or other thoughts on the project?
Matt, I'm going to be your neighbor. I apologize for anything my family does now in advance.
All right, you'll come over for a cocktail.
Any more Zoom meetings, I think we'll all be ready for a cocktail.
Yeah, no kidding. Yikes.
And I've known Matt a while. He will be apologizing to you.
Thanks, Elliot.
It's from your lawyer.
That's why I have a lawyer just for that reason. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, those were my questions.
Great. Any other questions or comments? All right. Let's see where we are on this. First off, we obviously, under COVID have the option to, waive introduction and move right to the adoption. Show of hands for anybody who does not want to waive introduction. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands waving, so I will ask, help me out here. Okay, if we're waiving intro, I need a motion to waive the introduction of ordinance number M8 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Swerk,
Yes.
trustee Kripe,
Yes.
trustee Dearborn,
Yes.
trustee Apatow,
Yes.
trustee Lampier.
Yes.
That motion carries, and then we'll move forward to, I need a motion to adopt ordinance number M8 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Swerk,
Yes.
trustee Dearborn,
Yes.
trustee Kripe,
Yes.
trustee Apatow,
Yes.
trustee Lampier.
Yes.
That motion carries as well. Matt, good luck with your new home. You're ready to go.
Thank you very much, guys. We appreciate it.
Have a good
Thanks a
evening.
ton.
Looking
We're
forward
coming
to
over on the
everybody in
4th.
person.
Okay, moving through the agenda, we're making good headway tonight, guys. Old business, there is none this evening, so we'll move on to new business. Item A is the 880 Willow zoning variations, and this is for policy direction. This request for variations from roof lot coverage and impermeable surface restrictions has been unanimously recommended for denial by the Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight, the council will hear an appeal of that ZBA decision. The council is also being asked to consider granting a variation on an existing but non-conforming paver installation that exceeds the impermeable lot coverage limitations for the subject property. And we'll kick it off with Community Development Director David Schoen.
Yes, so briefly to review where the property is, it's on Willow Road on the south side, just west of the intersection of Willow and Birch Street. The property is zoned R2, and the lot is a legal non-conforming lot in terms of lot area, lot width, and lot depth, and that is elaborated on in the ZBA staff report. These are images of the existing home on the property. The council may remember in October 2019, the council approved the following variations that allowed the construction of the home. That was a variation of the maximum gross floor area requirement, the minimum front yard setback requirement, and the minimum side yard setback from the east property line. At that time, the property owner had not proposed the garage. It should be noted that the proposal at that time did not require an impermeable lot coverage variation. This evening, the applicant is proposing a detached one-stall garage of around 250 square feet to be located in the rear quarter of the lot. Would also require the extension of the driveway to the location of the garage. Given the proposed location of the garage is not counted towards the maximum allowable gross floor area. However, the garage does add the approximately 250 feet to the roof lot coverage. The garage and the additional paved area would add 400 square feet of impermeable lot coverage to what is existing on the site. Given the maximum amount allowed, what is existing on the site and what is proposed by the applicant requires the variations listed here in terms of roof lot coverage and impermeable lot coverage. It appears the property owner did add some additional impermeable pavement above what was approved as part of the original permit. The site plan image here shows the location of that impermeable surface. The site currently exceeds the maximum allowed impermeable lot coverage by about 176 square feet. As you can see in the image, where it appears where they added it were in narrow strips that would have remained unpaved dirt areas. The current variation request, if approved, would include this additional additional impermeable lot coverage. However, if the council would decide not to approve the requested variations as presented, the site would be technically in violation of the zoning code, and either the additional lot coverage that is shown here would need to be removed unless the council would decide to grant a variation just for that impermeable lot coverage of 176 square feet. The ZBA did review this at their February 8th meeting. No members of the public provided written or oral testimony to the ZBA at that time. The ZBA recommended denial unanimously. Board members felt the variation request should have been included with the original house variation request. And they felt that if it had been, the house may have been requested to have been made smaller to accommodate the garage. I would note, given that the board has recommended denial, in order for the council to approve the request, 4 trustees would have to vote to approve the request. Would also note if the council ends up voting to deny the request, the applicant would have to wait at least 1 year before submitting a similar application. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thanks, David. All right, I'd like to have some discipline on this because there's some meaty issues we have to work through. So at this point in time, I'm only asking you for questions from the council for David, just questions at this point in time. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, David, what is the existing stormwater system that's in place?
The existing stormwater system, I don't have the details on that, John, but it would have, I'm sorry, trustee Swerk, but they would have
Okay.
met all our current stormwater management requirements.
Yeah, the reason why I ask is, is there a way to increase that to make up for the additional impervious? So nothing may happen tonight as far as I'm concerned without knowing that answer.
Well, they would have to, for the additional impermeable surface, have to provide what's required under our stormwater requirements.
Okay.
So John, are you asking, so David, you said they are out of code in terms of impermeable surface right now, that they paved over parts of the property that were not expected. Is the current stormwater detention and so on satisfactory for what is there today? Do we know that?
Yes, the village engineer has looked at the situation with the additional impermeable surface that is there, and he is okay with it in terms of our code requirements.
I see.
David, relative to, I don't remember with the original proposal that they had, was the back patio part of the original proposal?
Yes, there was a paved area behind the house.
And so if that was converted to a wooden deck, how would that, that had slats so the water could go through, how would that count? Is that still impermeable?
No, as long as the surface underneath is permeable.
Yeah.
And there are sufficient slats, and there's no cover over the deck.
Okay. So I don't know what the square footage of the patio is, but that's an interesting concept. Okay, thank you.
Hey, David, one other question. I'm sorry. Has anything in their proposal changed from the February zoning board meeting?
No, it is still the same proposal.
Okay, thank you.
David, I remember a little bit about this. If I recall, this was the one where they were supposed to do a remodel, and they started tearing things apart to the point where it was like one wall flapping around in the wind. I don't remember, and maybe you can refresh my memory. And I read a little, there was an existing garage there. I'm trying to understand why there was not a request originally for the garage.
I will leave that for the applicant to respond to that question.
Okay. But was there a garage? Do you remember if there was a garage there before?
Yes, there was a garage.
Okay. You're on mute, Chris.
I'm sorry. I have no questions. All right, Kristen. I understand we have quite a few pieces of correspondence relative to this.
Yes, President Rentz, it was forwarded to the council, the additional information provided.
Have all of you received that information and have had the chance to review it?
Yes.
Penny? Up.
The letters that you forwarded today, right? Were there any others? Just those?
Just the ones from today.
Okay, thank you.
Great. So we'll open it up for direct public comment then.
President Rentz, would you like to hear from the applicant and their attorney first?
I'd like to hear public comment first.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so at this time, if you'd like to make a public comment, please raise your hand. Tiffany, I will allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. Please state your name.
Tiffany Vitello and Stephen Fowler.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the time tonight. I'm Stephen Fowler, and we are actually neighbors to the property at 880 Willow Road. In those photos you showed earlier in the narrow shared driveway, we often have to re-jockey and rearrange cars because of the fact that there is not enough depth for our neighbors to pull their cars forward. Unfortunately, when I come home, I have to call my wife and say, hey, could you move the car so that we can realign how our vehicles are stacked in the driveways? Because of the narrowness of the driveways as they exist currently, we've actually had some vehicle damage, doors opened into cars. We had one of our vehicles actually run into by a vehicle that was dropping some stuff off at the community, or the house next door to us. And so I just think that the narrowness of the space, I know that there's obviously zoning issues and storm retention that are other factors, but just from a feasibility standpoint of living with a narrow shared driveway, we would appeal to the village to consider allowing them to have a garage that's further down into their property, would permit them to pull into the garage to store a vehicle and then have another vehicle further onto their property that makes that shared driveway more accessible by both parties. Again, if you look at the pictures, we do have a gate at the end of our driveway where we could pull forward a little bit, but the gate to the house area is so narrow that it's difficult to get our car out if we were to try to pull forward. So just really functionality of the space, it would be, if there's some opportunity to increase the stormwater retention, to have a larger catch underneath their impermeable surface would be a greatly appreciated consideration just for functionality of the neighbors in the shared driveway. Thank you very much.
By the way, hi, Steve and Tiffany.
Others, Kristen?
Any other public comment at this time? Jeffrey has raised his hand. Jeffrey, I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. Please state your name.
Jeffrey Liss. I've been watching this and I have no information about anything here except what I just heard. So I have a rhetorical question after listening to what the zoning board did. To what extent will your decision be based on annoyance that they didn't mention the garage when they first applied for the zoning, or B, what the actual zoning requirements really are? In other words, what would you do if they had sold the house and a new owner came in and asked for this variation? I mean, it seems like they're just, two kinds of psychologies or considerations. Anyway, that's just a rhetorical question from somebody who's listening. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Good to hear you.
Mark, I'll allow you to talk and ask you to unmute, please. Please state your name.
Mark Swislow and Julie Swislow.
We are next door neighbors to them. Our dining room and kitchen overlooks their backyard, and we are definitely in favor of having a garage built there. It is very crowded right now. The cars are lined up. I think that it would be very helpful to have a garage where they can store their trash cans and their car. And it is just something that would look more appealing to us.
Well, thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Okay.
You set it up. Thanks.
Any other comments? I see no other raised hands other than the applicant's attorney, President Rentz.
Okay, thank you. All right, we can now promote the applicant and his spokesperson and let them provide any information, any additional information above and beyond what we have in the packet to help us deliberate on this matter. Hi, Todd.
Good evening. Thank you for hearing me. And I want to congratulate Chief Burkowski for his many years of service. This is a very unusual situation in that we have 4 non-conforming lots over on Willow Road there. This lot's only 0.11 of an acre. So it's very, very tight. We submitted 6 letters, which you should all have, from all the surrounding neighbors concerning they're all being in favor of this variance to grant them to build a 1-car garage. Tonight was the first time I ever heard about the impervious, the extra impervious that they added to their driveway. And I know if they were to be granted a variance for the garage, they would remove that impervious or make some other compensatory storage to pick up on that, to balance it out. Going back to the ZBA hearing, Julian is Romanian and his wife Dania is from Iran. And when they had that in front of the ZBA, they both announced to the board that night that they're at home suffering from COVID. So I think they were somewhat unprepared. I know that we never go into the 8 standards in front of the council, so I'm not going to bore you by going through the 8 standards. But if you're to look at the 8 standards, you'd see this is really a perfect candidate and meets all 8 of them. With that, again, we just asked to do, not look back, but to look forward. I think all houses in Winnetka, if it's feasible, should all have garages. It just really helps the village, helps the surrounding community. And we'd ask that you grant the variance. And if there's any issues with compensatory storage, we'll address those.
Okay. Well, thanks, Todd. Hey,
Thank you.
does anybody have questions for the applicant? Go ahead, Penny.
I just, the idea I had brought up relative to the patio. I don't know what the square footage is there, but have you all considered, removing that and making that an impermeable surface?
You mean
We have not.
Making it a permeable surface. Thank you. Right. Correct.
We have not, but we definitely entertain that if that would be a solution. The garage is more important. Is this patio on the ground or is it elevated? I'm not even sure.
Penny, could you elaborate on that just a little bit so I understand what you're shooting at?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Well, if I don't know what the square footage is of the patio, which is paved surface, but if it was converted into impermeable surface, would that address the impermeable surface issue? It looks like they have sort of a tough issue relative to the driveway because it's all driven over anyway. And would that be a more practical solution? So it was an inquiry.
I understand now.
And if that would be a solution, we'd address it. I guess we could hear from Donia or Julian. What is that patio made of? What type of material is that? Is it elevated or is it on the ground?
It's just on the ground. It's not elevated and it's cobbles with the bricks and it's only 122 square footage.
I'm sorry.
Pavers?
Yes.
122 square footage.
122?
Yes.
Thank you.
Including the sidewalk.
Including the sidewalk.
Okay. And we'd be, if the board or the council like us to remove that, we'd be all ears and we could address that and we could change materials to get a garage.
Sure.
So my question was, what happened to the garage that was there before? Could you just walk me through the history on the was garage and now there's no?
And I guess from what they told me, do you want to hear from me or Donia?
No, go ahead, Scott, please.
What I'm told, Donia, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that it was somewhat of an old like horse carriage garage, right? I don't know if it's even big enough for a car. It was 100+ years old, so it's more of a shed. But I think they were hoping to keep it or to remodel it. But their crew got very, very aggressive and took it down the first day. And then, as you've heard, ripped everything down where the walls blew down in the first windstorm. So it wasn't really a usable garage, but it did get torn down inadvertently right out of the gate.
And why was a new garage not included in the last request? And the fact that it wasn't doesn't matter to me that much in terms of whether I grant this request or not. I agree with looking forward, but I do want to understand why it wasn't included in the request before.
Donia, if you got an answer, or Julian, was it an oversight or why did you not request a garage?
Because at that time we weren't living here, the garage wasn't important for us. So when we moved here and then we ran to the issue that we are dealing with every day with neighbors, now we see how important it is to have a garage.
Okay, thank you.
we just had an accident with a neighbor that we just feel about it. We're just trying to eliminate that, going forward. It's really narrow. It's very hard for us to park, next to each other. We open our car doors and we can hit each other.
Was the accident what prompted you to look to build the garage now?
The accident, and it's very hard. Like the neighbor said, we have the same issue sometimes. When Julian gets home, he calls me, say, can you move your car because the other neighbor is parked and we have to keep, getting up to the Villa Road and the second person can park, because sometimes I live to work early and sometimes he leaves early. So it's really difficult for us to, 4 of us to park next to each other. I think garage will help us to just park more far back. Well, it's going to help us to kind of get rid of that congestion a little bit.
And I'll just say for everybody, so I always like to be transparent as opposed to being accused of having a conflict. My daughter Julia often plays at your neighbor's house, and anything that adds to safety right there is something that's important to me. So if anyone wants to call that a conflict, they can, but I intend to vote anyway, and I think this should happen.
I have one question. As part of your zoning variation application, you mentioned that that the owner is keeping one of his valuable vehicles garaged somewhere else and can't have access unless he drives there. So can you explain to me a little bit more what that is all about?
Yeah, for example, we have a jet ski that we would like to put it in the garage. And like we are using our friend garages in Chicago, so every time we want to access it, we have to like bother them. Versus where if we were to have a garage here, we could have parked it here. Or Julian has a summer fun car that he cannot park it in our garage. He has to take it to friend garage too, and it's just really inconvenient. Yes, we with our jet ski, actually, we had a problem because we went to just check on it because we winterized it, and we found out that I don't know how, but there was a piece that was broken that it cost us $480. Just we couldn't, blame them for, but it would be easier for us if we can put our vehicles in our own garage than, borrowing someone else and going through that accident that just happened.
Hold on, John. Well, as a person who has a lot of other vehicles, I have found the necessity myself to find a place to park them that happens to be not in town. That's not the issue here. The issue here is that if you're parking either the fun car or the jet ski in the garage, then what happens to the backyard with the cars that are currently being parked there and used for your daily transportation?
Well, we are in the process of selling the jet ski, so I don't think there's no need for us to keep it because we had it last year and we didn't really enjoy it. So Julian found one of his friends that is willing to buy it actually this coming week. And his fun car, I'm hoping he's gonna get rid of it, or I don't know what's the plan, but having that garage, it's really gonna help 2 cars to pull up to the back, that we can really get rid of this congestion that we have. Right now, we have only 1 car that we really park in a driveway because of that reason, that the problem we have with the neighbor. But if he were to have a garage, then he can pull his other car from Chicago and he can have 2 cars, park in the car. Like every morning he drives me to work because he doesn't have his other car with him.
Yeah, I'm very concerned about just stacking up more cars in the backyard.
It would be only 2 cars.
Rather than having one in the one regular car in the garage. And if you're going to use the garage for jet skis and fun cars, your personal cars, yes, they will both be able to park there now, but they're going to be still.
Kudo board is an online replacement for the greeting card that's passed around inside.
What happened?
I can
You're
hear.
back, Chris.
He's back.
It was replaced by a commercial.
There
Now
you
you're
go.
back. Okay.
How appropriate. Anyway, that's my question. Thank you very much. And it's for my colleagues' consideration, not mine. Thanks.
I just want to add one more thing. Like I said, we're in the process of selling the jet ski. If I have to have proof for that, I will provide that I will And I promised there would be only 2 cars that is going to be owned by me and Julian only. And those are the only 2 cars that we are planning to park here. We are not trying to line up cars here.
Okay.
Thank you.
John, did you have an additional question?
No, you were going right on it. The whole point of using a garage for a jet ski or a weekend car, you know, where the other cars park. And also then obviously, you know, when other people grow up in the house, there's kids that might have cars, things like that. So I have one more question for David, though, I think, if that's okay. But I can wait till after the petitioner is done.
Okay, well, any other questions for the petitioner? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back up for deliberation. Okay, guys, you can have at it now.
Yeah, I have a question for David. There was reference made a couple times, I think, tonight of the shared driveway. This is not a shared driveway, right? It's a property line. Each driveway is its own property, its own driveway, correct? You're muted, but I think you said yes.
Correct.
All right. So in theory, one of the properties, one or the other or both, could put a fence up right down the middle.
Yikes.
That is a possibility, right?
One of the properties could put a fence up on their property line up to the property line.
Right. So I guess my point is, this whole shared drive, don't pretend it's a shared driveway. These driveways do exist. The house before us, they designed that house knowing the width of their driveway to the property line. They know they did it without the garage, probably to have a larger house because of the roof area coverage. So I'm really not in favor of this at all. It should have been brought up when they originally built the house. And the fact that the old garage fell over, the whole house fell over. They had the opportunity at that point to have the garage as part of their project. So thanks.
Well, if I may.
Chris, you're muted.
No, because we're deliberating now, Todd. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
We moved past that. Go
ahead.
Rob.
Go ahead, Bob. I'll go next.
Okay. All right. Well, a couple things. One, I actually did drive by the house today, and between the 2 houses, there were a number of cars in those driveways. There's no question about it. I thought there were, I may be wrong, but it looked like there were 3 in each driveway, but maybe not. In answer to Jeff Liss's good question, if you read the ZBA material that was in there, I don't think there's any question that they would have deliberated in a different way when those zoning requests were made previously, if it included a garage. So, you know, if you just read the tone of that meeting, I don't think there was any, I don't think they were going back to 2019. There was a little bit of that, but I just think they're saying, you know, we already granted variances, and had we known the garage would have been there with more roof coverage and impermeable surface and so on, that we probably would have done something different with the house. So, you know, this is a property, and I know, and I feel bad about this, but this is very cool. You know, we have a stormwater issue that we are currently addressing in a major way. And, you know, I have a problem with granting accommodations to situations that potentially could exacerbate the problem, even though this is a small property. I get that. But it seems an ask too far, in my opinion. So.
Yeah. And I'll also add, you know, I don't have the actual language in front of me, but the standards that Mr. Stevens brought up that are presented to the zoning board or the plan commission, one of them is probably, is this request due to an act that was done by the petitioner? Well, this was created by the petitioner because the house was just built without thinking about the garage. So that's a major point to keep in mind. And I think that that should take care of what I need. Thanks.
And I actually don't really disagree with what Rob or John are saying. I think you're right. I think those are significant concerns. what's weird for me with this one is we've got every neighbor around who wants this for reasons that are very understandable. And, so this kind of creates a situation where, frankly, part of the reason I was asking about the garages, did we overlook something before? I didn't ask about that before. I feel like, maybe we should have raised that. I don't know. But what frustrates me is we're in a situation now that is going to be bad for the neighbors, right? And so, yeah, John, I mean, I don't disagree with John or Rob. You're right. We don't want to set a precedent of allowing people to build a bigger house, and then kind of later ask for a little piece more. But at the same time, I've seen this driveway. I don't think it's a real easy thing to put a fence. I don't even know if you could actually fit a fence between two cars there, to be perfectly honest with you. I've parked in that driveway. Okay. And cars parked in a driveway when you've got little kids, and this is a neighborhood with a lot. Remember when we go down the parade route, this is a street where you're going to see a lot of kids like that, lot of little kids darting between parked cars. You can't see, if you're pulling out of the driveway that Tiffany and Steve are pulling out of, you can't see what's there. So this is a legitimate safety risk. I really don't think the fence is at all a solution, John. I don't know if you've gone and walked it.
I'm not, yeah.
I mean, and if you put a fence in there, then good luck getting your car door open, because it's not going to open.
Yeah, and it's kind of my point. I wasn't suggesting.
And that's a viable solution. What we're going to be saying if we deny this is, I'm sorry, neighbors, we've got rules and they need to be obeyed, even if it's bad for all the neighbors who frankly are the ones that we're supposed to be looking out for. I feel like if there was a failure here, I wish the homeowners had caught this before. I wish I would have caught it before. I didn't. I don't recall any of us discussing this issue before. And I don't want to leave the neighbors in a crappy situation. I don't think that's the right outcome. So this is one of those cases where this is not a precedent I'd want to set. It's a terrible precedent, but the outcome, I think, is I would like to see them build it. Not to house a jet ski, though.
Hey, Andy, let me throw another idea. Rob, I'll get to you in a sec, okay? What if what if in the event that there was an approval, that there was also a limitation on how many cars could be in possession of the resident at any one time? I'm just an idea, and we'll go to Rob. It's just something to chew on. Go ahead, Rob.
I think both points. I appreciate the back and forth with John, Bob, and Andy, and I get it. It's one of those precedent versus common sense things, which always sometimes are tough. The sequencing just bothers me a little bit on how this is done. And it's, I have no idea how it happened, intentional, not intentional, whatever it is, but it's sequencing's a problem. Inadvertent tear downs of garages, I start scratching my head. It's one of those things when the ZBA votes 5-0 for us to overturn something like this, I'd have to go back to the zoning board and really have a more in-depth discussion with them versus just dismissing what all 5 of them just said. And that's a tough one for me to deal with at this point. And I get it. I understand the back and forth. Andy makes very good points, and I understand if I was a homeowner, I would, but the sequencing just is tough, and the zoning board's 5-0. It's tough for me to ignore.
Penny.
I would like to break this down a little bit. There are a couple of different issues that I think we need to think about. One is the driveway. First of all, I want to say that the first house that we lived here in Winnetka, that we had, our driveway configuration was the same thing that you have. So I understand. And we ended up building a garage in our back quarter. It was allowed, it was permitted, but yes, that did solve our issue. The question being is the garage a necessity? From looking at the original house that was on there, the little shed that was there wasn't actually in the rear quarter. It was like a shed that was almost attached to the house. So that probably wouldn't have worked anyway because of it was not in the rear quarter. So I think what we're talking about, I think we're imagining that the original garage had been in the rear quarter and it wasn't. So we're not talking apples and oranges here. It sounds like you need a storage shed for your garbage cans and tools and things like that. You need driveway relief and you need to get rid of impermeable surface. So, you know, again, this is a brand new house. The garage issue should have been considered when we talked about it. I agree that the zoning board probably would have acted very differently, as would have we. So I am very reluctant to grant a full garage. And it sounds like you really don't need one. What you need is more driveway. So I'm wondering if you can rework your plans and come back with something that's more in line with the impermeable surface requirements, because it's a very important issue relative to our floodplain issues and concern for the neighbors and so forth. So I would love not to have to vote on this tonight, but rather have another plan to consider, because it sounds like there are some serious issues relative to the neighbors' concern that need to be looked at.
Yeah, Todd?
Well, if you'd like to, I know someone wants to go back to the ZBA and talk to the ZBA. If you want to table it, I think we'd be in agreement with tabling it. We can look at other alternatives. We can go back, talk to the ZBA. Again, both my clients were sick with COVID and didn't really put on a presentation, had no representation in front of the ZBA. So if the council would like to table it, we'd be in agreement and we can look at other alternatives.
I'll tell you what, Todd, you know, just the nice thing about this job is I only got to count to 4, right? And I'm not seeing 4 here tonight. And obviously if it does go to a formal vote and it doesn't go in your client's favor, then you're out for a year before we can even talk about it again. So, you know, maybe tabling it would be an appropriate action to request at this time if that's what you think.
Yeah, I think, you know, why don't we get a date and any of the council members can go back to the ZBA. If you want to shoot the whole thing back to the ZBA, we could start at square one. Whatever you'd like for, just get us on the agenda either next month or 60 days from now.
Peter, can you help me?
So if, question for David too, but if we continue this, it needs to be continued to the council to a date certain, or else we will lose the public hearing. If it's going to go back to the lower body and there's going to be another public hearing, then that's not an issue. But if it's going to go back to the lower body, then I think that's another public hearing. There's going to have to be more public notice for that. So I guess it's a question for the applicant.
Yeah, now here's the question, and John, I'll get to you right after this.
Sure.
Here's the issue. Do we want to keep it here and see if we can navigate a solution for the applicant or not? Or do we want to send it all the way back through the process again and probably end up having the same conversation anyway at the end of the day?
I think you keep it with us. We're already, frankly, we'll forget what we talked about by the time it gets back to us. if we send it back to the secretary, right? I think
John, I got to get over to John. I've been holding him off for a long time. Go ahead.
Yeah, Penny beat me to the punch, but this is not an uncommon situation in Winnetka. I think if I look at the survey, I'm reading a really small print, David. I think it's 11 foot 4 inches property line to side of house. If I'm reading it properly. It's not uncommon to see these double driveways like this, driving along the sides of home. The unfortunate odd part, the house has no garage.
Mm-hmm.
So you could come back to me as many times as you want. My mind's not going to change because of how this got to us to this point.
John, would you feel differently though if it wasn't a garage, if there was just more parking space in the back and we took care of the impermeable?
Sure, if they were able to come back with engineering that meets or exceeds all the impervious that they've added to that property, including the new, and any underground stormwater needs to be put in, and provide engineering.
So,
So your main concern is the stormwater, and if they can satisfy that, if they need some zoning, I mean, because if you don't need zoning relief, if you can figure out how to do it, then this is all moot. But I guess the whole point in continuing it would be that they might need some relief from us. So if you're saying, no, don't ever ask for relief, we probably should just tell them that.
Right, and what's gonna happen, they sell a house in 10 years, whatever. Someone's gonna come and says, hey, we can't buy a house, now there's no garage.
Yeah.
They blew it to begin
exactly
with.
what will happen.
A house new with no garage wasn't very good.
No, it's a
So,
mistake.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, they made a mistake. And
well,
when they did that mistake, Julian was on his own. He speaks Romanian. Donia was in Tehran, and I sent that in the packet. You should have proof of her tickets to Iran. She had to go home for a family medical emergency. So Julian went in, and I don't think really understood what he was doing. Donia, I guess you can speak to that, or Julian. And I mean, the bottom line is we can look backwards, we can look forwards. It was a mistake. A house in Winnetka without a garage is not a good thing. All the neighbors want a garage, and we can be punitive here, and that's understandable. Or we can look down the road and try to come to solutions that is good for neighbors. I know we don't want to set precedent. I know we're walking a fine line here. I understand that, but it's a unique situation. We have 4 unconforming lots that are, again, 11/10 of an acre. I mean, they're very, very small.
But those are unconforming when it started, so.
No, I know. No, they were. They're non-conforming.
okay,
So, I
guys.
mean, I would suggest, why don't we get a date, but I think we need to look down the road and what's best for Winnetka and the neighborhood.
Peter, how long can you table something before it turns mushy?
David.
Peter, can I have a point of clarification? Since this is not a public hearing this evening, do we have to set a date certain?
If we don't, I know this isn't the public hearing, but there was a public hearing. So if we were just to say, and so the people who were at the public hearing and have now noticed this meeting, if we were to just table this and not provide them some notice of when it might come back, then there is an argument that we would need to have another public hearing. That's why we always like to set a date certain. Now, to Chris's question, there's no real time limit. It can be 3 meetings, 4 meetings. I would just recommend that we make it a date certain, so everybody knows when it's going to be back before the council.
Gotcha. Guys, I would suggest that we just table this for now. 60 days, give them 60 days to work things out, potentially talk with a few of you to see if they can move you one way or another. And you might be beneficial for you to reach out and offer your opinions in advance of any final designs. And then we can pick this up again in 60 days.
That'd be agreeable.
Does that work?
Sure.
Well, so the date certain would be either your May 4th meeting or your May 18th meeting.
60 days.
60 days, be June.
60.
60, I'm sorry. Okay, so the first meeting in June?
Is the 1st or the 8th? The 1st. June 1st is the first meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
Do we have to vote on this, Peter? How do we go about tabling something?
You need a motion it's just a motion to defer until June 1st meeting.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Trustee Kripe?
Yes.
Trustee Lampier?
Yes.
Trustee Apatow?
Yeah.
Trustee Swerk?
No.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes, I guess.
Okay, it carries.
Okay, the item is tabled and we'll see you folks in a couple of months.
Well, thank you very much. Have a great night, everyone.
All right, thanks, Ted.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on with our agenda, item 13, we have none appointments. Item 14, closed session, there is none. And item 15 is adjournment. So may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Trustee Dearborn,
Yes.
trustee Kripe,
Yes.
trustee Swerk,
Yes.
trustee Lampier,
Yes.
trustee Apatow.
That motion carries. You know, I've never heard of a